Hello YouTube world, Pretend Farmer here. Not a real farmer, just pretending. Look what I found in my coop this morning. It's the smallest egg from a chicken that I've ever seen. This is what I typically get. This is what I got this morning. It's about a quarter of the size. Unbelievable. It's so small that I actually questioned if another bird flew in and laid an egg in one of my nest boxes, but then I was like, that's too much a coincidence. This egg did in fact come from a chicken, and in fact this happens to people often enough that these have a special name. They're called fairy eggs, and I'm going to tell you what they are, what causes them, all the stuff about these. Now we see lots of different eggs here on a regular basis on the Pretend Farm. We have a black copper Marin that lays these really dark mocha colored eggs. We have olive eggers that lay these olive colored eggs. We have buff Orpingtons that lay these tan eggs. And yes, we have chickens that lay white eggs too, mainly our commercial layers. Lots of different eggs, but you never ever, hardly ever see eggs like this. In all my years of pretend farming, I've never got an egg this small. But here's what causes them. Now, scientifically speaking, what causes these little fairy eggs is when the egg white is developed before the yolk is released during ovulation. It takes a chicken about 25 hours to produce an egg like this. But there's a lot of stuff that can happen during that 25-hour window, and anything that disrupts a chicken's egg laying cycle can result in no eggs at all, or these tiny little eggs called fairy eggs. This could be stress, such as fireworks, a predator attack, extreme weather like a heat wave. You could have a tornado or a really bad thunderstorm come through. Basically anything that disrupts the chicken's normal daily routine can cause them to stop laying or maybe lay these tiny little fairy eggs. It could also be a dietary reason for it, like say they're not getting enough calcium in their diet, or maybe they don't have enough water. That can cause underdeveloped fairy eggs. Now typically when you have pullets, which are young hens that haven't reached maturity yet, when they first start to lay eggs, instead of laying a big egg like this, they'll lay a smaller egg, and as they continue to lay, it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger. That's because their reproductive systems are not fully developed yet. They're not fully mature in terms of reproductive system. So they can produce these tiny eggs that are slightly underdeveloped just because they're not there yet. On the flip side, as a hen gets older and they get to the end of their egg laying cycle, the last couple eggs they pop out might not be quite up to par because they're running out of steam. The last reason that you might see one of these show up in your coop is maybe spring or fall, right before your chickens go through a molt, which is where they shed their feathers and they grow out fresh new plumage. You know, if you have chickens and you've seen them molt before, they do not lay eggs while they're molting. Well, it very well may be right before your chicken goes through that molt. They got to get one more egg out of them, and they push and they shove as hard as they can, and they pop out a fairy egg. They didn't have quite enough in them to get a full-size egg out, but you might see one of these show up before they're molt. Bottom line is, there's a lot of reasons that your chickens can lay these tiny little eggs, and it's nothing to panic about. It doesn't mean they have health problems. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. They're not going to die. Just cherish these little things, because guess what? In some cultures, they believe that finding one of these eggs is actually good luck. That's right, finding one of these little fairy eggs is actually supposed to be a sign of positive things to come. I guess we'll see. Till next time, this is the Pretend Farmer, signing out.